Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome back on in to the neutral zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have got a good one lined up for you here tonight. We are at the 1/4 mark of the NHL season. My goodness, can you believe it? Just about everybody has played 19 games. We are at 20 games, 1/4 of the way through. We are going to reflect on the season that has been so far, what has stood out, who has looked good, who has looked bold, what has impressed us to this point, what have been some of the key storylines. We've got some power rankings to go over, what teams have really stood out so far in the early going, and who is just ready to throw in the towel and start getting ready for the 2026 amateur draft. We'll also, of course, get you caught up on the games going on tonight. Several games in the NHL tonight to look at. But don't forget the college game. No, we've got some updates from across the NCAA as well. All that plus more coming up right here on the Neutral Zone. Do not go anywhere. Let's have some fun. Hello and good evening, hockey fans, one and all. Welcome back on in to the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. He is Freddie B. I am Adam Karnik. What's good? How you doing, Freddie?
I'm doing great, Adam. Great to be back with you, talking hockey. It seems like every week that we talk, just more action, and there's breaking news and just so much to talk about in a week's time. It's like, how do we cram everything in to like a 1 hour show when there is so much going on in the league this year? And like you mentioned, college hockey is up and running. We had some really great matchups this past week. Some really good matchups. Not much change in the rankings go, but I do have a story I did want to share a little bit later on about in the college ranks. And yeah, man, it's great to be back. How are you doing, sir?
Or hanging in there. It's been a week, getting through, the holiday is right there. Just got to keep pushing a little bit more.
Oh yeah,
we'll get there, and we'll get that day off, and then there we go. Can relax a little bit for a quick minute anyway. Right. But yeah,
unless
it was a good
retail.
Well,
right.
then there's that side of it. Yeah, but we won't think about that or talk about that too much. So, but yeah, we've got good NHL stuff, we've got good hockey stuff, and then the PWHL season is right around the corner as well. So we got lots to dive into, lots to dissect, and only about an hour to do it. So let's dive right in without any further ado. Let's start things off as we like to do on the show, with the games in action tonight. Not a super heavy slate as far as number of games. We've just got the 4 games in action in the NHL on the docket tonight, but lots of good stuff going on. What have we got we got 2 games going on right now. How are they looking right now?
Well, as a matter of fact, Washington is taking on the struggling Washington Capitals are at home to the struggling Edmonton Oilers. And really good contest as far as action goes. Washington just scored, making it 5-3 after the Oilers had cut a 4-2 lead to 4-3. Really good game going on there. We'd like to see both these teams start picking up their game a little bit. Edmonton, obviously, getting Zach Hyman back is a huge boost to them, but he does not play defense. So I still don't know how they're going to stop pucks from getting into the net. And you can't outscore everybody every single night. But, we'll see how that goes.
That was going to be my question in general with Edmonton is who does play defense for Edmonton?
No, I have no idea what is going on up there. And I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl can only do so much. And really, now that they have Hyman back, this is his third game of the season. He played 23 minutes his first game with 11 hits after being out of action since, the playoffs last year. And if they can get him rolling, they really don't have that deep of a roster, in my opinion. So I don't know. This isn't the same Oilers team that we've seen the last 2 years that have made Stanley Cup final runs. And if they don't start picking the game up, then they might be, on the outside looking in. I still think that they are a playoff team, but as of right now, they aren't. And same goes with Washington. What are we seeing out of Washington? They're in last place right now in their division as well.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit of Washington a little bit later on, but Alex Ovechkin, he hit 900. We talked about that last week, but the Capitals as a whole, a struggling start to the 25-26 season, and then another game going on right now. We've got the Calgary Flames and the Buffalo Sabres. This was a contest that this is definitely the undercard on the docket, if you will, for the NHL tonight, as the Flames and the Sabres, definitely two of the weaker teams right now in the NHL, but 2-2 almost halfway through the game, giving some people some entertainment right now tonight.
Yeah. Buffalo gave up an early 2-goal lead to the Flames, and they have tied it up here in the second with two of their own goals by Samuelson and Tage Thompson, his 10th of the season. He's starting to roll right now. But yeah, two bottom feeder teams. I don't know what the attendance is like. What do you do? Do you go to a game if you're a season ticket holder? Obviously, you probably go to the games, but is this a game that you would really spend money to go see? Last place Sabres and the last place Flames?
On a Wednesday night in November. Yeah, I
love hockey. I'm not going to pass up a game, but that's not one that I'm going to mark on the calendar as a must-see TV. The two games later tonight are going to be really entertaining as well. We've got Carolina in Minnesota to take on the Wild, who are starting to play a little bit better hockey, and also the nightcap, Bruins and Anaheim. That's going to be an entertaining game.
That's going to be
geeky against the high-flying Ducks. Ducks back to their winning ways. They got a overtime win the other night. Really came out of nowhere to win that game, a goal late in the third with 5 seconds to go, and then winning it in overtime. So they're back to their winning ways after a small 3-game road trip in which they didn't look very good in those 3 games, but that's going to happen throughout the season.
Yeah, you are going to have those. And we want to welcome in everybody watching live tonight across YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Drop us a line. Let us know where are you watching from? Where are you listening? Who's your team? Let us know that you're here. We're happy to interact and have some fun with you. And for those of you who are watching on later on in the week across YouTube, we are glad that you are here as well. Glad that you find time in your week, even if it's not live, to make time to listen to the show and get caught up. And we hope that we make your week a little bit more entertaining while we talk some hockey. So
really nice turnout of viewers last week, Adam. If we can only build upon that, this show is going to be high flying and rolling. No time.
Absolutely. We hit 800 viewers a week ago live. Wow. We'd love to keep going on that. So let your friends know you watch this show, pass it along, keep spreading it around. Let us know where you're watching from and who your teams are. Freddie is a Kings fan. I'm a Blackhawks fan.
Yes, that's correct.
We don't let that stop us though. We still have fun and interact and all those good things.
Absolutely. When you have the ability of talking hockey, that you really can't play favorites when it comes to your team. Obviously, we like to stress our teams and we like following them. But as a hockey fan like yourself, Adam, I could just talk hockey. This has been an incredible start to the season. Now, we're at the quarter pole, is what you want to call it, the 20-game mark. So, yeah, this is a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so let's dive into that. We are, for all intents and purposes, at this point, we're at the quarter mark. Nobody's quite there yet. The Red Wings are at 20. The Bruins are at 21. You got some other teams, a lot of other teams at 19. The Flyers are only at 18. I think they're the outlier there. Yes, the Flyers are the lowest at this point at 18, and you've got a couple of teams that are at 21 already. But by and large, for the most part, everybody's at 19 or 20 games played. So effectively the 1 quarter mark on the season. We're going to get into the power rankings in a little bit, kind of do some of that a little bit. What has jumped out at you the most so far through the first 25% of the season?
Adam, we hit it last week with the youth movement. I think has to be the number one factor that's going on right now in the NHL. We are seeing these teams that are supposed to be in rebuilds that have had high draft picks over the last few seasons, and those draft picks like Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini and now Matthew Schaefer in Long Island, these guys are making immediate impacts, and they are leading the league and their teams right now. We're seeing some real surprise starts from some of those teams as well. Like we mentioned, Chicago off to a really good start, 24 points already in the season. I didn't think we would see that until December. And then you have the Ducks leading the division in the Pacific. And, the Sharks, not so much as far as the record go, but they played pretty well at times. And these guys are really incredible. So that youth movement, and I think changing of the guard and the parity in the league right now are probably the 3 things that really stand out to me as far as what's going on so far this season.
Yeah, the youth, to me, we talked about it last week, but I think it's going to continue to be something that comes up all throughout this season, is just Celebrini, Bedard, Schaefer, the immediate impact that a guy in his 3rd season, a guy in his 2nd season, and a rookie, the impact they're having with their teams is it cannot be understated at this point.
Not just them; those are just the top 3 that I spewed out. There's others that are also making really good, big impacts on their teams as well. And the way the game is going is kind of changing. It's gone to a quicker, more, upbeat, fast, freestyle hockey, which is it's exciting. If you like watching goals, then this is a great time to get into watching hockey, because there's really exciting play going on every single game, every single night.
Yeah, the scoring is absolutely on an uptick. You've got just about every team has already got up 50 goals already through 19 games. A couple of outliers in there. You've got, Calgary only at 45 goals to this point in the season as the low man on the totem pole. But then on the other extreme, you've got the Colorado Avalanche. They're averaging basically 4 goals a night, 78 goals through 19 games. That is, holy cow. The offensive output you're seeing there from the Avalanche, but it's not just the Avs. The Ducks, 70 goals that they put up already in their 19 games. You've got elsewhere in there, the Hurricanes, 70 goals already on their season as well. The Detroit Red Wings, they're not, they're an interesting one because they're scoring, but they are literally giving up as many as they are scoring. Their goal differential is 0.
Yeah.
Yet here they are at 12-7-1, and they are leading the Atlantic Division. I would not have expected I expected a good season from the Red Wings.
We both thought they would be up there. You know, they were battling for that playoff spot last year, and we thought maybe this would be the year that they kind of take that jump. And what I'm seeing out of Detroit, and I watched a couple of the games recently because I've got some of the guys, you know, I need some stats from. So I've been watching them like Lucas Raymond and Mo Seider and, you know, Dylan Larkin. Those guys are really playing good hockey, and you're getting really good goaltending with Cam Talbot and John Gibson too. So 2 veterans in net, and your youth is kind of leading that team as well. Good to see Detroit.
So this is probably going to be a little bit of a layup question, but you know, hey, we'll start it off. We'll start it off small, and then we'll get harder later in the show. More surprising to this point, more surprising division leader, the Detroit Red Wings or the Anaheim Ducks?
I'm going to say the Ducks.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, when the Pacific Division has got the dynamic 3 that we've had just over the last 8 years or so, with Vegas, Edmonton, and the Kings being the top 3. And then you would think, you know, Vancouver is probably the next best team in that division. And the Ducks, you know, down there with Seattle and San Jose, but they have made a boost in quick time. Bringing in Coach Q, I think, has made a tremendous impact on these guys. They brought in some really good, you know, veteran leadership as well. The Chris Kreiders and, you know, Michael Backlund, he's back for a game, contributes, and then he gets hurt again. But they've got, Michael Granlund. But, you know, the Ducks are probably more of the surprising team, in my opinion.
I would 1,000% agree with that. Anybody that told you that they had the Ducks being on top of the Pacific Division at the 1/4 mark is just flat out lying to you. The Ducks didn't have themselves here. So the natural follow-up question on that, how sustainable is this for Anaheim? You know, to be first place in the Pacific, they are a point in front of both Vegas and the Kings. They are 2 points in front of Seattle, and they're 3 points in front of Edmonton. So it's a log jam there at the top of the Pacific. How long can Anaheim really sustain this being at the top?
Well, they had a 3-game losing streak in which they lost to some pretty good teams, and then were on the verge of losing their 4th in a row, coming back home the other night against Utah, and pulled that one out, like I said, to begin the show at the last second, getting a goal with 5 seconds left and winning in overtime. So they could have been on a 4-game losing streak, but there's a lot of heart and desire in these guys. I enjoy watching them on a nightly basis. I think they can continue to play this style hockey and be successful, but I don't think it's going to lead to division championship. I do think that they are on pace to be a playoff team, legitimate playoff team, maybe a top 3 in the division. But I don't know if they can sustain this. You know, they did just get Radko Gudas back on defense as well. Another veteran. Having your captain back in the lineup is going to be huge for them. It's going to come down to whether or not these youngsters can still play this style hockey and be good, and relying upon Lukas Dostal to be your ace in hand in net. And he's been phenomenal so far to this season. So I think they can continue. I don't think it's a division championship team, but I think they're going to be there in the end.
Yeah, they've certainly set themselves up to where it feels like playoffs are no longer a ridiculous notion for the Ducks. That I still wouldn't be surprised if they miss, but it no longer feels like it would be a shocker if they make it either. You know, that they can.
Yeah, there's still some powerhouse teams that haven't really reached their full stride yet this season. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. And if they don't, then that's a great opportunity for the Ducks, if they can continue to play this style, to be a playoff team.
And to bounce off of that, then, so you've got Edmonton currently at 5th in the Pacific. You've got Minnesota down in 6th in the Central Division. The Leafs currently are in 7th place in the Atlantic, and the Washington Capitals in last place in the Metro. Who has been to you the most disappointing team here at the one quarter mark? Who's been that team that you're just like, wow, you really, guys, this is all you've gotten so far? To me, Edmonton jumps out at me right away. I'm just reminded of the Oilers from a couple of years ago where they got off to that such slow start, fired the coach, and then a springboard. And it's like, guys, you that can't be the recipe. That can't be what it takes. You've got to internalize that a little bit. Who's your team here at the one quarter mark that you're most disappointed in?
I think the Maple Leafs. They did, get a win last night, but they've been probably the most disappointing team. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but we talked about Craig Berube being on the hot seat. It's not his fault, and I saw a video of him coaching the guys on the ice the other day, and he was really kind of chewing them out, like, you guys have got to put this effort in. You've got to be practicing hard. And I think they're going to turn it around. But the most surprising start to the season, they were sitting at the bottom, hanging with Buffalo right there. Austin Matthews, he's going to continue doing what he does, Nylander and Tavares. But defensively, Toronto is kind of struggling right now. A lot of the blame is because Tanev isn't in the lineup. But you can't put all of that on him. And then they're also having goalie issues already with the injury bug there. So Toronto, they got to turn it up a notch, maybe even to 2 notches, because everybody else in the division is kind of moving forward, and they need to get on a little run. No streak, long winning streaks yet from them this season. I'd like to see them put something together and go on a little bit of a run.
Yeah, it hasn't been offensive woes for Toronto. It's been, as you brought up, the defensive struggles. They have given up the 3rd most goals in the NHL to this point, 74 goals on the season. Only the Canucks and the Blues have given up more. And I don't think anybody's necessarily confusing those other two teams as being anywhere near the playoffs, whereas the Maple Leafs, it was, hey, can they get past the second round at this point? And at this point, absolutely not. They're going to be incredibly fortunate to see anything past April 15th, past tax day. They're going to have to play
close to 700 hockey the remainder of the season. If they can't get to, we said, I think it was last week, they need to be kind of by, the end of December, closer to that 40-point mark, if they can get there, because it's going to take low to mid 90s to get into the playoffs this year. And if you're only capping at, 19, 20 points right now, this far into the season, I'm not a mathematician, but 80 points, 82 points is not going to get you in. So they've got to step it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're on pace for right now. Somehow they're on pace for 82. They are at hockey 500 right now.
I would be extremely shocked if they can't make a run and get back into it, because, I mean, who would have thought the Penguins would be where they're at right now, or the Bruins would be where they're at? Those were 2 teams that were in last place last year, and they're both at the tops of their conferences right now as well. Both playing really good hockey. So we're seeing some surprises from teams. So the Maple Leafs have got to step it up. Same with the Oilers. I hate the Oilers, though, but I don't want to see them do good. But, I mean, they got to fix their blue line somehow, because, I mean, Darnell Nurse and Ekholm and Bouchard, and, those guys are not carrying the load.
No, not in the slightest. All right, well, before we get to the power rankings, I know you had some injury updates for us from last week. That's been another big topic throughout the start of the season. A lot of injuries throughout. A lot
of injuries.
Some of them on the shorter variety. Others of them are a little bit more substantial. Get us up to date and caught up here on the injury bug throughout the NBA.
Yeah, well, big injury to the Kings with Drew Doughty going down, taking a shot off the foot a few nights ago, and he week to week. They say hopefully, be back within 8 weeks. So I'm hoping by Christmas we can maybe see Doughty back in the lineup. I hope it doesn't hurt his chances of making that Olympic roster. I don't think it will, but that's going to hurt the Kings, who, have to rely upon, some of these other guys to step up their game. Doughty was having a really good year so far, maybe not so much offensively, but that's a huge blow when your main defenseman goes down. And they've rallied around. Doughty's had injuries over the past couple of seasons, so I think they could get around that. Now, you talk about freak accidents. What happened over in New Jersey with Jack Hughes?
Oh my goodness. That was so bizarre with Jack Hughes. That was just, oh my goodness sake. Yeah.
That's a big blow to a New Jersey team that's been outstanding so far this season. I hope they can get him back and healthy. I mean, I don't know what his timetable is either. That's a pretty bad injury.
Lengthy. Yeah, lengthy is what I've been reading for Hughes.
Surgically repaired his finger. Is that what they had to do? It was a dinner accident. Cut himself on some glass, apparently. I don't know the shenanigans that went on. They were kind of hush hush about that too, like not getting into too much detail about because this was a non-hockey related injury that we've seen. And then I don't know, hopefully he'll be back sooner. Jack is having a tremendous season. I love watching the Devils games with him and his brother out on the ice. That's just some of the injuries that we've had so far. I mean, Tyler Bertuzzi goes down for you guys. He had a really good week last week with scoring, 4 or 5 goals. And then he goes down. He's been out the last couple of games as well. Eto Luosterainen. Have you heard that injury? Florida Panthers?
Yes, he got hurt attending a barbecue.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was the one doing the barbecuing or not, but according to Paul Maurice, they said he has no timetable to return as well. Until he's able to return to put his hockey gear back on. Now, I don't know if he was burned. I don't know. I haven't really dug into this. My brother actually texted me earlier this evening, so I kind of looked it up. And the freak accident, these are things I would see from baseball players. You're playing too much Guitar Hero and you get carpal tunnel, or you fall. You throw your shoulder out, throwing the trash down the stairs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, these hockey injuries are pretty significant too.
I love how Paul Maurice said this too, that it's, quote, "We don't have a lot of experience with this."
Yeah, I don't know.
Understatement of the season right there.
Right.
When one of your players goes down because of a barbecue injury.
Yeah, I mean, Florida's already it's been a rough start to their season. 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs. They had the injuries to Kachuk and then the Barkov one to start the season. They've been pretty good up to this point. Now you lose that as well. So Luosterainen he's a key piece to that roster. So they're just floating to keep their head above water right now. I think they'll fight back, and they're strong enough and tough enough that they'll be a really good team come down the stretch. But you also had injuries to other defensemen like Kirby Dach and Thomas Harley in Dallas. Big injuries to key defensemen. And 20 games into the season, we're starting to see these guys go down. And hopefully, for like Harley and Hughes and Doughty, that they're back and are going to be able to play in the Olympics.
Yeah. Well, that whenever the Olympics come up on the schedule, that the players always circle that because they always want to wear that sweater for their country. So they're going to do everything in their power to get back for that. But yeah, the injury bug it is a marathon. Every team is going to have to deal with injuries every single season. You always know that, but it does feel like the severity feels a little higher for a lot of teams this year. Florida, especially, all the injuries there. Yeah. They also just lost Cole Schwint, who they had just picked up off waivers for depth because other guys were hurt. And now they've lost him potentially for 3 months.
Yeah. He's month to month right now with the arm injury. So
yeah. Anytime they have to say month to month, that's just, day to day, week to week. Now we're skipping those straight to month. Oh man, that is hard. That really, really tests that tests your team. It tests your depth. It tests your mental fortitude, everything for a team when you're having to deal with all those injuries. I would not be surprised though if NHL coaches start demanding that teams do nothing but eat there at the team facilities after a couple of these injuries. That, look, we are going to bring in your meals for you. You are eating nowhere but here where we can watch you and make sure that nothing bad happens to you.
Yeah.
No more barbecues.
No more barbecues.
Dinners. No more going out to restaurants. No, none of that. You're having chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and nothing but soft food.
Absolutely. You got to go baby steps with these guys now. They're paying a lot of money for these guys. You got their investments. Speaking of money, man, what do you think about Adrian Kempe finally inking that 8-year, $10.625 million deal to stay in LA? I am excited about that.
Good for Kempe. Good for him. That's good money for him.
Great money.
That's excellent for the Kings to keep Kempe around. He's been an excellent player for them for a while now. Nice to have that good money. You're in the long run, I think that's going to benefit the Kings. I think Kempe, had he gone to free agency, maybe he makes a little more money, but he winds up staying home.
I thought that was a steal at just over 10.5. I thought he would be around that 11 to 11 and a quarter. But to get him kind of like on a hometown discount there, he says he loves playing in LA. Can't wait to continue, playing there. And I hope they can start building around him. They'll have a little bit of cap room come the off season with Kopitar retiring. So they're going to have about $25 million or so in freed up money, so they could be active in the off season. I like to see what happens now.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've teased it a couple of times now. Freddie, let's dive into your power rankings here at the quarter mark. We're going to dive into the top 5. We'll have them scrolling across the screen here, but take us through. You want to go, let's start at 5 and then work your way up to 1 here.
Let's go. Let's start at 5. And I got to say the Detroit Red Wings right now, they're atop the division. They're the top teams in the Eastern Conference. I like what I'm seeing out of Detroit right now. I thought they were going to be a fighting team. I think that they will continue to find their ways. That leadership that they've got, Patrick Kane there, is really helping mentor these guys like Dylan Larkin, like Lucas Raymond, Mo Sider, and then the goalies. The having a good tandem of goalies, veteran goalies. John Gibson just isn't some, guy they picked up off the street. He's not an e-bug that, these are, and Cam Talbot, they're both legitimate number 1 goalies, have had great careers. I really like what Detroit is doing. That division is tough, though, because everybody could flip-flop. Montreal was in first place 2 weeks ago. Boston was in first place last week. And now you have the surging Tampa Bay Lightning kind of hitting their stride. But I do like what I'm seeing out of Detroit, and they are my number 5 team in my top 5.
Happy birthday to Patrick Kane, by the way. His birthday November 19th, so he is, now I'm going to have to do math off the top of my head. I should have been thinking about that. He's 1 year younger than me, so I can't remember how old I am. That doesn't help me. 1988 was when he was born, so, you do the math.
That's why he wears the 88. Or
that's why he wears
88, yeah.
That's why he wore the 88 in Chicago. So,
yep.
37, if I can do math. Yes, I can do math. We're going to call it 37.
We're going to call it 37.
We'll roll with it. 37. Happy birthday to Patrick Kane.
Yes. Happy birthday. So, number 4 on the list, I'm going with the New Jersey Devils. They have been playing tremendous hockey as well. They're currently tied with the Carolina Hurricanes as far as points go in the Metropolitan Division. They're another fun, exciting team to watch. I really do enjoy watching New Jersey play. Now that Jack Hughes injury could be detrimental. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully that team can continue to, play the style of hockey that they're capable of doing. Jesper Bratt with 13 assists on the season as well. But you do lose a huge blow with Jack Hughes going out. He had 10 goals and 10 assists so far already in the season, but They do have some really nice young talent on their roster as well. Nico Heischer, Dawson Mercer, some really good guys. Arseny Grischuk. I don't know if you've seen him play or not. He's smaller as far as stature goes. He's only 5'10", but this guy knows how to put the puck in the net. And I think that his workload is going to be bumped up a little bit. He's really good on the power play. I do like what I see out of him, and I think that they can slot in and kind of fill that void that they're going to lose from Jack Hughes. New Jersey currently top 4, but that can change come next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's one of those guys that can avoid getting hit, and that will frustrate the heck out of a defense where it's this little skinny runt. Oh, I should be able to just knock him off the puck. Hey, wait a minute. How did you get around me? That's not right. I was getting ready to truck you, kid.
Yeah, he's like one of those guys that you ever play ice hockey on the original Nintendo?
Blades of Steel was my first.
But ice hockey, you had 3 options to pick your player. You can choose a guy that's like medium build who was somewhat fast and strong, or you had this really big dude that could just check you off the ice. And then you had this little tiny skinny guy that was so fast he could zigzag around everybody, but they were so elusive and hard to hit. That he's kind of fits in that category right there. I love that.
Yep. Just that little bug that you just can't, you'd think, oh, there's no way he can. Oh, wow. No, look at that. You can't catch him. Therefore.
Yeah. So number 3 on the list right now, I got to go with the Carolina Hurricanes, the number 1 team in the Metropolitan Division and the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. I really think Carolina is the best in the East, and they're starting to play to that potential. They're fun, exciting. Rod Brindamore, really good style hockey. He's a great coach. They've got some really good talent down there, the really good back end. Freddie Anderson in net has been pretty good up to this point so far. But when you got guys like Svechnikov and Aho and Jarvis and Stankoven, those guys are really talented offensively. They are good. They can suffocate you on defense at times, and they can throw 40 shots up offensively as well. I do like Carolina. They are the number 1 team in the East and number 3 on the power rankings right now.
I like the Hurricane. I've liked the Hurricanes for a long time. I think they're really
very likable.
Very likable. I've always liked their overall team style of, look, if we're, the way we're going to play defense is we're simply going to play more offense. We're just going to play that puck possession, play keep away, keep the ice tilted, slanted into our offensive zone. I've always liked that's the style of hockey that I learned to love hockey with, 16 years ago, as I started diving more into it with those Quenneville Hawks teams. That's what they were. Yeah, so that's a style that is very relatable to me. I've always liked the Hurricanes.
Me
and
too.
It's always for me, can they take that next little extra bump to get into the next round?
The playoffs has been their biggest hurdle is trying to make it out of the playoffs. So whether it's playing, like Washington or, whoever it is that they face, they've got to be able to get to a conference final. And you know what? You should have told me, Adam, my dyslexia kicked in. Carolina is actually my number 2 team.
I just assumed I typed it in wrong, and I was just going to, what? If I don't say anything,
you're totally right. I'm watching the ticker right here, and I had Dallas as my number 3 team. They're moving their way back up the charts, probably the second best overall team in the Western Conference. They did lose Thomas Harley. I do like what I'm seeing out of Dallas. They're starting to put some wins together. And, when you got Ottinger and net and the caliber of talent they have offensively, and you have Heiskanen, but the defensive guys have got to step up now with Harley going down. Dallas is up there. The only other team that I think is better than them in the West is obviously our number 1 in the power rankings, Colorado Avalanche. They just continue to steamroll. Second highest scoring team in the league, I think, like you mentioned. still struggling on the power play. I had their power play rankings up a little bit ago, but they're if they could get a power play at a decent percentage right now, they're sitting where are they? 24th in the league at 16% on the power play.
That's remarkable to me that they'd be that poor on the power play. The rankings, it's still somewhat early. Sometimes that can get skewed. It's the 16% that really is what jumps out at me on that. Really? You're not even 1 out of 5. You're 1 out of 6.
You watch Colorado play, and it's almost like watching the Harlem Globetrotters, and that's even at 5-on-5 hockey. On the power play, they move the puck around so efficiently. They're very skilled, super fast. You have McCarr and Marty Natchez, McKinnon. They've got some really high-end, talented players. They're going to be super scary. They're going to be there, at the end of the season. They're the number 1 team in the league right now, and until they go on a little bit of a slump, I don't see them really doing much of a slump.
They're not on a slump right now.
They're playing phenomenal hockey, and right now you're going to get out, be in the way of an avalanche if you're playing Colorado right now in the league. So Colorado, number 1 team in the league, Carolina, number 2, the top 2 teams in both the East and the West. And that was my preview of what I thought would be the Stanley Cup final this year. And both teams are holding their end of the bargain up.
Absolutely. And I'll throw in a couple of honorable mentions in there real quick. Not quite in the top 5, but certainly worth discussing. And we've talked about them a little bit. The Anaheim Ducks. Yeah. I have no idea how sustainable this is in Anaheim. I've been saying it the last couple of weeks, but wow, is it fun to watch the Ducks, this ascension that they have had with the first year under Coach Q. So definitely an honorable mention there. Mikey Two Guns in the chat room there. Good evening, Mikey. He asked about the Bruins. A little bit of a slow start, but they've been bouncing back nicely. They definitely deserve some honorable mention discussion into the top 5 with the power rankings. And then one more there to kind of close it out. You brought them up a little bit. The Tampa Bay Lightning, again, a slower start, but they're starting to come around. Not quite there yet, but another team that could absolutely be somebody that makes their way into this top 5 here in the next couple of weeks. All right. And then if there's a top 5, well, there's got to be a bottom 5. Who is in the bottom 5 here at the quarter mark of the season? And we'll start from 28 and then work our way down on this one.
Yeah, I think we can all agree who the worst team or 2 teams are in the league. But right now I have Washington down at 28. I trust me, I don't want to put Washington down there. They did beat my Kings the other night in a 2-1 win. They're not the team that we thought they were going to be. They're not the team that they were last year, but they'll put that together. I think Ovi's starting to heat up. He's now at 7 goals on the season. He had 1 tonight. I don't know if he scored again or not, but he's starting to score. He's going on a little bit of a streak. Tom Wilson and those guys, they did lose, I think, Pierre-Luc Dubois, who wasn't really contributing much at all offensively. He went down with an injury recently. The goaltending really, Logan Thompson, he needs to carry that team. You can't rely upon your goaltender. I think Washington's offense will start heating back up a little bit. They're at 28. They'll be out of there within the top 20. I'm sure they can go on a streak. 20 points, I think they have, or 19 points on the season. They're only 8 points from the lead in the conference. So everybody's within, 8 points. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's within striking distance, but the Capitals, they feel old right now. It feels like you're watching an old hockey team.
Yeah. John Carlson, those guys they're doing good, but they feel like one of those older teams that might be on their way out.
In a league that has been, we've talked so much about the youth movement so far in the NHL this season. Washington feels like a team that just hasn't figured out that, you need to get some youth and some virility into that. I
really like Spencer Carberry too. I really like Spencer Carberry. I think he's a great coach. And Washington, they'll be back up into the mix. I think they're going to make the playoffs. Ovi, whether it's his last season or not, he's not going to go out without a fight. So expect Washington to be working their way up, in the rankings coming in the next few weeks.
Vancouver, they did win. Yeah, they did win tonight. They did beat Edmonton 7-4. That game did go final. So they do have that at least on their docket. So that puts them
I should have thrown Edmonton in at 28 instead.
Oh my gosh, that would be wow to even be considering the Oilers in a bottom 5 at this point. That is truly depressing. At this point, the Oilers, they scored twice in the first, twice in the third. The Capitals, 3 in the first, 3 in the third, and an extra 1 in the second, just for good measure. Ovechkin did have a goal. The winning goal would have gone to, as I've got to reverse engineer this whole thing a little bit here. Yep. And I can't even say his name. I really can't say his name. Beauvillier. There we go.
Oh, yeah. Anthony Beauvillier. Former Islander. Yep.
I French. I could do all the Eastern European names, and then you throw a French name, a language I've studied, and I can't get it. Well,
Beauvillier is really having a really good season as well. I like what I'm seeing out of him with Washington. But, number 2019, we're not going to talk too much about these guys. Vancouver Canucks. I didn't expect much from them. One night they look good, then next night they look terrible. Evander Kane is hot and cold as you can get. He could, put 5 or 6 shots up in a game, and then he can get shut out like he did with no shots on goal against Tampa Bay and only 1 shot against Florida. This guy's averaging, 5 shots a game. And then if he can't do that, you can't always rely upon Quinn Hughes to carry the load. Speaking of Quinn Hughes, though, I do want to mention that he became the 5th defenseman in NHL history with 3 or more assists in 3 straight games. Only the 5th to do it. Can you believe that? Can you guess who the other 4 are?
Oh boy. Chris Chelios has got to be on that list, I would imagine.
No Chelly.
Oh, no Chelly. Okay, who are we talking? Who else is on the list?
So we've got Cale Makar. Duh, right?
Oh, come on. Sure. Okay.
Roman Josi.
All right.
Very good, really good career in Nashville.
Excellent.
Raymond Bork.
Oh, okay.
And Paul Coffey.
Oh, all right. There's our aged hockey wonder. All right. I had the right era. I just had the wrong guy. Okay.
Yeah. Those defensemen back in the day could put up some numbers, and Paul Coffey was awesome.
Oh, Paul Coffey was a terrific defenseman back in his day. Outstanding. Well, good there for Quinn Hughes. Excellent there. But yeah, it's the Canucks are. It feels like a decade ago that they made it. They surprised people by making it into the playoffs, and oh wow, maybe these guys are on the rise. And no, they're not. It
was a decade ago that they were in the Stanley Cup final and lost to the Bruins.
Yeah, that you're right. That was
they were actually that close to winning a Stanley Cup, and they have not been very close ever since that. Once the Sedin twins were gone out of there, Vancouver kind of went down the toilet. They got some nice talent up there with Pettersson and Brock Besser, but just one of those teams. They're going to be floating around with the Sharks and maybe Kraken and stuff like that at the end of the season in the Pacific.
Just the bottom of the Pacific is just where they're going to be the whole time. Who's coming in at 30? A team we've already been discussing tonight.
Yeah, 30. I'm going to say Buffalo, but they're really not that bad of a team. They could be pretty good. They got some really nice firepower. Tage Thompson, Alex Tuck. They just got Rasmus Dahlin back and healthy, so he'll make a big impact with that. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well is back and healthy in net. He was out to start the season. Buffalo, I didn't expect too much from them. So they're ranked 30th. They could move up and down I don't think that drastically, but that's where they're at. Nashville at number 31. Nashville is just they split the global series games with Pittsburgh last weekend in Sweden, and there's very, very disappointing with that roster that they've got. They've got a lot of money invested in Marchessault and Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly, Forsberg. I just don't see anything out of those guys. What about you?
They tried to do the all-star thing a year ago where it's, hey, let's pull together the assembled greats that have suddenly become cast-offs from other teams, and let's put them together for one last run. And it reminded me, now this is going to show kind of my age and how little I pay attention to the NBA over the last 15 years, but it reminded me a bit of like the Lakers of 20 years ago, where it was, hey, let's bring in Karl Malone. Hey, let's bring in Ron Artest. Hey, let's just bring in all these random superstars to pair with Kobe, and let's try to just go buy our way to a title. And it absolutely crashed, burned, and flamed out.
Yeah,
and that's what we're seeing with the Predators here.
Yeah, I was really shocked at how terrible they were last year. I really thought that Nashville was going to be one of the top teams just based on the roster and the names on that roster alone, but that just didn't prove to be that way. I don't know. You've got Winnipeg, Dallas, Utah, and Colorado, which are 4 way better teams in that Central, and Chicago to throw in the mix now as well. Nashville's not going to sniff anything this year. They're going to be at the bottom throughout the season. They're going to be fighting with Calgary, who's the worst team in the league right now and ranked number 32 in the rankings. I feel bad for Dustin Wolf. He does everything he can to keep his team in the game, but when you're the lowest scoring team offensively in the league, it's hard to win games. You can't always shut everybody out, and the Flames are seeing that firsthand, already this season.
Yeah.
And we talk about them. It was 2-2 coming into the show with their game against Buffalo, and they're now up 5-2 in the third. So when you have the 2 worst teams in the league, you could have some exciting hockey, and maybe they'll flip-flop.
Somebody's got to win that one. It might go to overtime, but it won't end in a tie. But yeah, all of a sudden, I was just going to say the Flames are barely putting up 2 goals a night, and here they put up 5 against the Sabres. But they'll put up 5 tonight, and then they might not score for the rest of the week either.
Yeah.
There's no consistency there with Calgary. The only offense I would argue that's been more inconsistent has been the New York Rangers, where, my gosh, if they've been at home, they can't buy a goal but then they go on the road and they're completely unstoppable. It's that herky jerkiness. And that's the same deal with Calgary, only for every one game where you'll get a 4 or 5 goal outburst.
Sure.
You then have 3, 4, or 5 games in a row where it's all they can do to put one in the net.
It's not like they have that bad of a roster either. When you've got Nazem Kadri, he's the veteran that's leading that team, and you've got Michael Backlund and Joel Farabee and Matt Coronado. Those younger guys are starting to step up their game. Morgan Frost is now in Calgary as well. They're doing pretty good. I like Paresh as well. That guy could be a stud in the years to come. I do like what I'm seeing out of him. But yeah, Calgary's going through some growing pains, and it's a tough division in that Pacific.
Huberdeau's got to be going, what am I doing here? How did I was in Florida.
Yeah, I know.
And no.
Yeah, that was he was bad last year too. He stepped up his game a little bit. He was a healthy scratch for a few games last year because of his inconsistency and his lack of scoring. Calgary, they're probably going to end up probably the worst team in the, maybe San Jose and Nashville will battle them, but I don't think they're going to do anything.
Yeah. I would agree. That's what you're going to be kind of looking at all the way around. We will throw in, I'll throw in a couple of Dishonorable mentions, I guess.
Dishonorable mention, yeah.
Just lucky enough to be avoiding the bottom five, if you will. The Toronto Maple Leafs, we talked about them a lot already,
Sure.
but they are teetering on the brink of being in the bottom five. If they can't figure some things out, turn some things around, the Columbus Blue Jackets are really struggling here at the start of the season. The New York Rangers, my goodness sake,
Yeah.
the New York Rangers. I didn't expect a whole lot out of them, but they are continuing to just be a frustrating mess.
They are. Yeah, I saw JT Miller give up on a play last night that led to a goal in his own zone, and he skated away from the play, and the cameraman captured it perfectly because he's skating slowly away, and they give up a goal right in front of him. It was, I don't know what's going on right there. Jonathan Quick was obviously frustrated the other night, stopping 40 shots in a 2-1 loss to the Red Wings in that Centennial, throwback game, and then the late goal, shot into the net after the horn blew and tempers fleur and bench and clearing brawl at the end of the game. That was so Jonathan Quick of himself, to start a brawl. I loved his feistiness when he was with the Kings. One of my all-time favorite players for sure. But it's got to be frustrating though. You can't score.
That's one of those things where it's, stuff has been brewing all game, and you've got to let it out. You've got to let all the steam is finally getting out of the tea kettle there at the very end. You have a massive brawl. The next time the two teams play, they'll probably be complete gentlemen with each other too.
Yeah.
They get it out of their systems, and that's that. A quick note on that game. What did you think of them both wearing what would effectively be their home colors? You didn't have a white sweater out on the ice for that game. Did that bother you at all? Or did you like
No, I didn't mind it at all. I really don't care for those Rangers uniforms too much though. The blue is a little too light in my opinion, but they wanted to, go back to that throwback. So I love those Red Wings uniforms though. Those are outstanding. And when they wear the brown gloves or the brown goalie gear with that stuff and make it look so vintage. That's what I really love to see. It kind of reminded me in the recent years of college football here in Southern California, USC and UCLA would both wear their home jersey. Yes. So you'd have the red and the maroon and gold and the blue and gold of UCLA. It's striking. That was a little too similar, a little too much red going on in that, but I like it. I'm all for it. And then, Rangers come out today and they announce their Winter Classic, the Stadium Series tour is the Stadium Series, right? And it's almost the same thing in a white version. And Florida kind of goes with like a throwback vintage looking Florida Panthers, which is, they're only in existence for 30 years, but those are really, I'm kind of digging. I like when they go to the old, like leathery looking shorts and the brown leathery looking gloves. It just gives a vintage feel to it. Playing in South Beach, in an outdoor game, there's nothing vintage about that.
No, nothing vintage about that at all. I like the Rangers look on that a little bit more than the Florida look on that. There's just something that with that Rangers look that screams clean to me. It's just a nice.
It kind of also screamed like barber pole to me too.
Mm-hmm.
The red and the white and the blue, just right.
Yeah, the striping. Yeah, I can see that, especially because the New York is going vertical all the way down. Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely see that now that you say that. Oh,
sorry, I put that in your head.
Oh no, I like it. I like it. It's got a nice vintage look to it. The Panthers, yes, they're going with a throwback jersey. They're not. They don't have as much established history, so it just doesn't have the same pull. But it's a nice clean look.
It looks nice. I like it.
That the Panthers are doing. Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here tonight, as we've been rolling right along, just about an hour on just the NHL, let's dip into some NCAA hockey here for just a minute, and then we will call it a show here tonight. But lots of NHL. They're all throughout the top. Let's dive into the college game before we bid adieu. There, I can do some French. before we say goodbye for the show here tonight. Michigan State had itself a strong week yet again. The Sparty is staying atop the rankings, and the defending champion Broncos finally had a defending champion type weekend there in Kalamazoo also.
Yeah, big week. We thought that Michigan State going into Notre Dame may be, maybe an upset. And I think they whitewashed them the first game 5-0, and then a 3-1 win in the second game of the series. So Michigan State swept, go to 9-1, looking dominant, getting all 50 of the votes for first place in the rankings. Michigan State didn't move. Michigan still at number 2. Denver and Minnesota Duluth just flip-flop 3 and 4. Number 5, Penn State staying the same. Now, an interesting note on Penn State. Everybody's been talking about Gavin McKenna, right, being the number 1 overall draft pick. But there was an article that I saw that somebody put out. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. They're saying maybe at this time, maybe not number 1 overall, because there's a gentleman at the University of North Dakota by the name of Keaton Verhoff that some scouts are really starting to pay attention to and giving a lot of praise. And, based on his recent play and the team's recent play in, North Dakota and what Penn State's kind of going through right now, still ranked 5, but we're not seeing the production that we thought we were going to see out of the potential number 1 overall draft pick. So that's something to look at. Is he going to be the number 1 draft pick or not? Still early to tell, but I like to see Gavin McKenna start picking up his game a little bit, but I'm going to start keeping my eye also on Keaton Verhoff at North Dakota, and to see, I haven't really watched him play, but now I do. He's on my radar, and I'm going to start paying a little bit more attention to see how he can do. I'm going to be like a little scout myself and compare him to the other greats in college hockey right now.
Yeah, in defense of McKenna, he was coming from the CHL into NCAA, which a couple of years ago he wouldn't have been able to do.
Absolutely,
that's a very
right.
a relatively new thing, and so he's playing against some much older players than if he were still in the CHL, he'd be playing against kids his own age. He'd be playing against 18 and 19 year olds, and that would be it. 17, 18, 19 year olds, and that would be it. But now playing in the NCAA, he's playing against some 20 year olds, some 21, some 22 year old men. He is. So much closer to what he'd be seeing if he were in the NHL. And that's, to go from CHL to NHL, that's a bigger jump. That is a significantly bigger jump. And so when you're playing against some older competition, I guess what I'm saying is we shouldn't be totally shocked that McKenna isn't quite having the season that maybe everybody assumed that we all kind of wrongly assumed he'd be having. I still wouldn't be surprised at all to have McKenna go number 1 overall. I think he will be the number 1 overall pick. He's a tremendous prospect.
Yeah, he is.
He's going from playing in Canada to playing in the US. All the things that are incorporated within that. You're also playing against some older players. He's being a college, he's living the life as close to a life as a D1 college athlete can have, as opposed to being CHL in Canada. It's a lot of different everything. I'm not shocked. I should be less shocked than I am. I'll put it that way. I guess we shouldn't have been shocked by this. I would still be very surprised if he's not the number 1 overall pick. I'll put it that way.
I like to see how it goes, but now there's somebody else that I can kind of start focusing on a little bit to see just where he compares. If he is this guy, if he is a possible, maybe not the number 1 overall, but definitely a lottery pick as well. So,
absolutely. Yeah. One of the top 5 picks for sure. Cause we know how that goes. They love to grab him there. So
Yeah, UMass and Providence is going to be a good game. They play tomorrow night, 17 and 16 in the rankings. Union, who's having a really good season, they're ranked number 20 right now. They're going to be playing at Cornell, a top 20 matchup. Boston and Northeastern, a really good matchup. Maine and Boston College. So we've got a huge slate of some top games again this weekend. And then to cap that off, you've got Wisconsin, number 7, going into Michigan State for the 2-game series. So
that'll be some good
division
stuff.
Rivalry, conference rivalry, yeah.
Conference rivalry, and Ohio State, Michigan as well. They're playing in football coming up, and they get to play in hockey as well. There'll be some good collegiate games coming up this week as well. All right, before we wrap things up, I know you had a quick note on Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah, I mean, last night, so you texted me last night, Adam, and you're like, oh, Bedard with the hat trick. And I'm like, oh, my God, this guy is incredible. And I was watching, Bedard the last few nights, and he is really stepping up his game. I like what I'm seeing leadership-wise out of him. And then I flip it over to the Sharks game last night, Utah in town, and Celebrini scores 2 goals in the first period. And I call my brother. I'm like, Macklin's he's gonna get a hat trick tonight. And sure enough, not even 2 minutes later, he scored the game winner in overtime. And in doing so, he became the 4th player in NHL history to record 30 points in 20 games of a season as a teenager. Incredible. And look at the names that he's going up against. The only other 3 to do that are Sidney Crosby, Wayne Gretzky, and Mario Lemieux. And you put
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, those guys are on the Mount Rushmore of hockey players, And
that's some company to keep. Yeah, you'll be okay. You'll do okay, kid. You'll be all right.
Yeah. No, he's fun. I love watching these young guys play. And as soon as we get out of here, I'm gonna go and flip on the Ducks and Bruins game. That one should be really entertaining as well. Fun. That might be like a 5-4 kind of a game, Ducks hockey style.
That's going to be a very entertaining one as well. One last quick note here, and then we're going to call it a night. We talked about Olympics coming up. We did get a note out of the IOC this afternoon that neck guards are going to be required for everybody participating in Olympic hockey this coming February. We're seeing more and more NHL players wear them. USA Hockey has mandated them for everybody at the collegiate level and below, and heavily recommends them for anybody at the professional level to wear them. It was the last piece of equipment that we had to get for my daughter. It was we got to go get her.
Kind of important, right?
Before we take the ice, we got to get. I had to go to Dunham's and pick one up for her before her first scrimmage a couple weeks ago. So yeah, everybody in the Olympics will be wearing neck guards.
I love that.
It. Yeah,
it's just another safety precaution. We've seen instances of guys very narrowly losing their life due to an injury of a skate blade. That's so sharp, and it reminds me of the Clint Malarchuk incident years ago when he's sitting in a pool of blood in the goalie crease right there. And then just last year, I think it was somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but
Adam Johnson over in England.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Took a blade right to the throat.
I like seeing that. I think it's great. I loved that the NHL finally made helmets mandatory, and then they made visors mandatory, and now going with that, just another safety precaution. And I believe that in the 2026-27 season that it may be mandatory in the NHL. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, or if that's going to be in the next collective bargaining agreement. But that might be something that we will see the NHLPA do, and to make that just another safety staple for everybody to wear, whether or not you like it or not. Andrzej Kopitar wore one, and he still wears one with the Kings. So I don't know if it's uncomfortable or not. Ask your daughter how it feels when she's wearing it. But doesn't probably notice it, right?
She doesn't know. Of course,
Yeah.
She doesn't have a frame of reference, but yeah, it doesn't bother her
Okay.
one bit. I've kind of held it up to my neck, and it's okay, yeah, why not? It's a very simple way to very possibly save your life.
Absolutely.
To me, that's worth it. That to me, it's 100% worth it.
They're made, they're lightweight. They're made out of Kevlar, so it's going to protect that blade from making contact with the skin and causing serious damage. So, we'll see that implemented in the Olympics. So that's exciting news there, Adam.
Yeah. It's just a smart decision there.
I think so.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our show here tonight. My goodness. An hour and 10 minutes of talking to nonstop hockey. Woo! How about that? Big shout out and thank you to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They are still offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. You will enjoy it. If you like jerky of any kind, they will have something for you that you will enjoy. I promise. It is good stuff. Also want to say thank you to Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. When you go to vitalapparel.com, use the promo code IESR. You get 15% off of your order, as well as then getting some incredibly comfortable and inspiring gym wear. Be sure to check out and follow along with IE Sports Radio on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at IE Sports Radio. Thank you to everyone that's hanging out in the chat room with us tonight. Larry B, Mikey Two Guns, Roosevelt. Thank you one and all for hanging out. Thank you to the 581 people watching the show here tonight live. We so appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with the two of us for an hour and change, talking all things hockey. Thank you also to everybody that watches later on during the week as a podcast. Next week, we'll be breaking down more of the NHL season. We'll have the PWHL season will have gotten underway, so we'll have gotten some early scores and updates as they have dropped the puck there on the Women's League. We'll also dive into the women's collegiate hockey as well and keep up with the NCAA men's side. For IE Sports Radio, he is Freddie B. I am Adam Karnik. Together, we are the Neutral Zone. We do this crazy thing every Wednesday night right around 9 o'clock. Until then, have a great week. We will see you next time. Have a great one, everybody.
Good night, everyone.